Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and my guest today is Mia Moran of Plan Simple Meals. Mia is a best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, entrepreneur, and mom on a mission to change the way our families eat, one family, one meal, and one day at a time. Mia envisions a world where kids crave vegetables, moms feel healthy and energetic, and the whole family feels fabulous after every meal. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a world I would like to live in as well, and I'm so excited to have Mia as my guest. Mia, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. So fun.
So we connected a while back, and we have kind of this shared passion for helping people incorporate good, healthy habits into their busy lives. My focus is, around fitness, and your focus is around food. So maybe you can share a little bit about why you're so passionate about that as a focus point to get us started.
All right. So basically, I think it's because I just had no idea for so long. It wasn't until I have 3 kids who are now 9, 12, and 14, which is unbelievable. But anyway, the time goes that fast.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the 3rd one was 1, and I found myself actually 85 pounds heavier than I had ever been, that I needed to look at sort of what to do. And I dove into this idea of weight loss, which I had done that before. I mean, there's no hiding it. Like, I was a serial dieter and had disordered eating, and it wasn't new to me, but it was just, I knew I needed to do it then, and it was the only thing I could sort of pinpoint that was wrong, but a lot wasn't feeling good at that time. Like, I had this thriving business. I had these 3 beautiful kids. I loved my husband. I mean, I still love my husband. Still love my husband. But I was just like exhausted. And so the weight was like what I saw to that. So I just decided that I was going to, draw a line in the sand and take care of this. Well, luckily I got better information than I had ever gotten before when I made this choice. And I bumped into a health coach who sort of prescribed to me what I call my last diet. Which, was just really about taking out like the gluten and the dairy and all these things that I didn't even know that I should be watching, and just really adding in lots of fruits and veggies. And, it was a little extreme at the moment. I actually went raw vegan, but that's really what it was about. It was about taking out all those things, and caffeine and alcohol and all these things that I was just sort of having to fill in space, and just focus first on fruits and vegetables. And it was pretty simple that way. And I literally, before this moment, just to clarify, had like no idea how to cook. Like, I was cooking for my kids out of a box. Like, I was not, like, people look at me today and they're like, yeah, but you've always had this thing. Like, 8 years ago, I had like no idea. You told me to get kale at the grocery, I would have cried. But basically what happened is I changed my food, and all of a sudden all these other things changed. So like my allergies went away. My energy went through the ceiling. My skin cleared up. Like, my seasonal allergies that I took Claritin for every day. I got my period for the first time without hormone medicine, which had never happened. And I, then in hindsight, I lost the weight pretty quickly, and I have never had to go on antibiotics or take really any medicine since. Like, I just don't get that sick. And I used to always get sick. So it was just I just was kind of wowed by the fact that I had this tool that was like super easy that I didn't even know I had. Like, I just thought you were supposed to eat 3 meals a day. I was kind of annoyed by food because I had this propensity to gain weight in different, points in my life. And I don't know, I just fell in love. Like, I fell in love with how it could actually make me feel if I paid attention.
No, it's awesome. And I love how you shared that it's been a journey for you where you weren't always, this great chef and cooking all these great recipes.
No. So not. Yeah.
I mean, how did that change? Because I actually had a registered dietitian on the podcast last week, and she was talking about how motivation for cooking and just being able to feel like we know how to cook can be a big barrier beyond just
Yeah.
the time limit. So any insights you have on that?
Yeah, so I mean, what I did and what I just try to drill into people is that I think any of us will do anything consistently if we really understand what it's like to feel good. So I imagine that's the same with exercise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if running's not your jam, then it's going to feel like torture. But like if walking is, then you're going to want to do it more. Like I just feel like once you get into those habits. So for me, I literally for those first probably at least 4 months just had been given this pieces of paper, like these 6 recipes, and I literally ate the same thing for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I didn't, or 4 months, and I didn't like, I didn't even take on my kids at that point. Like it was just about me feeding myself well. And like, as I started feeling better, I was like, okay, I'll keep going. And then, so eventually then like I would make more and I would feed it to my kids. And then after, this 4-month period of just these same things, and then maybe introducing them to my kids, I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to cook. And so then I went and found a cooking class that like taught how to eat this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sort of built, and then I started realizing that like there was people who knew how to cook like this in my life already. It's just, I didn't have the awareness of that. So it's kind of been like just step by step, but it always for me goes back to the fact that I feel really good.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are always like, well, aren't you tortured at parties and like when you can't eat anything? And honestly, I'm not, because I never want to feel like can I curse? I never want to feel like shit again.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't.
Mm-hmm. No, I think, yeah, it is hard, right? It's hard to sometimes get other people excited about it, because I feel like for fitness and for healthy eating, until you experience what the difference is, it can be challenging. So I don't know, what are some strategies you would have if people wanted to get started, maybe easing into, starting to see some of the benefits, but not having to feel like it's overwhelming?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like I talk a lot about just picking your next doable change. So mine was like super extreme, right? I changed everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I made that doable for me was I literally had the same day on repeat for 4 to 6 months, however long that first period was. And that's what made it doable for me. Like,
hey friends, it's Catherine. If you're joining us and only have 15 minutes and are out for that out and back walk, that is the halfway point. You want to turn around now. All right, back to Mia.
I needed to do an overhaul, but many of us, that's not what we need. Like we have somewhat of a healthy diet or whatever, and we're just needing to gradually. So I just always say, pick one thing. Like you could start having a green smoothie every day for breakfast instead of whatever you're having now. You could give up coffee. You could have a salad every day for lunch. Like you could just simply drink 8 glasses of water a day, which is something we all like. There's so many things that we all know to do. Like I feel like green smoothies is a little 2.0, but not these days, but still. But like water, sleep, like all those things totally affect the way that we feel. And so I just always, like every single week on Sunday, this is what I do and what I teach to do is I just pick what that next thing is. So, one week it could be the water or the smoothie. Another week it might be, learning how to cook out of a certain cookbook, or it might be about really trying to have a plant-based meal. And what I do is then for that week, I really focus on scheduling in the things I need to do to get that thing done, like that one thing. So if it's to cook out of that cookbook, like when do I need to make time for shopping? Do I need to make time for meal prep? Do I need to pick the recipes? Like whatever it is. Because I think a lot of times with food, we're like bombarded with this idea that everything should take 5 minutes. And then that's been like supported by our fast food world.
Right.
And it doesn't. Like, I mean, it can be fast, it can be simple, but like in reality, to eat really well doesn't take 5 minutes, nor should it.
Right.
And so it's a lot about just like actually having enough time to like make the food, sit down and eat the food, enjoy the food, because like you want to have all these experiences with the food.
Right. No, for sure. And I think that's really powerful. Like understanding, acknowledging that it's going to take a certain amount of time and planning ahead. And actually, I had Jay Papazian on he's one of the co-authors of The One Thing, and he shared a statistic that if you actually block out your time to work on something, that
Mhm.
makes you not, 90% more likely to be able to carry it out versus if you just know
Yes.
that you should eat healthy, or this is something you should do. Or I don't.
Yes. No, and we so often, like, there's certain things that I just think we don't allot as much time as they
Mm-hmm.
actually take for, and that's what we're fighting, rather than the fact that we don't think we want to cook or whatever it is, Like, I feel like it sometimes can be more time related.
Right. No, that's definitely true. So one thing that I love that you have, Mia, is your flow planner, which actually makes it really easy. It's a great tool to help us plan out our food, our workouts, and our life in general. So could you talk about that with our listeners?
Yeah. So basically, I've been teaching about meal planning and food stuff for a couple of years now. And I realized that there's just all these parts that are sometimes fighting with the food.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to serve a lot of moms. And
Yep.
so it's just like, literally, like, we want the idea of family dinner or dinner at 6 or whatever it happens to be, but we haven't allotted the amount of time we need, just,
Right.
like I was
Right.
saying. And so I find that if we, just like that, your guest shared, now I'm blanking on what his name was, it really does help to have all this down on paper. So flow stands for food, lifestyle, so that it would work, but that's like spirituality or spiritual
Mm-hmm.
practices, and work.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that if we can think through life more holistically, we start to notice, like, where our patterns are and where we're maybe wasting time. And an interesting thing that we all can relate to, sort of sitting at work just to be there for, log the time, basically,
Right. Right.
and not actually getting something done. So I think everybody can relate to that. But one of the things that I played around with, because one of my favorite strategies about dinner, is just to tell people to write down what's for dinner on a Post-it first thing in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
just so, like, and in the flow planner, like, you do that for the week, so what's for the week. But part of, like, our stress around meals is, like, thinking and not knowing what's for dinner. So we might, like, wake up and be like, oh, I think I'm going to make, this pasta with vegetables for dinner. And then we'll be like, and we'll start to think about, like, okay, do I have that? Do I have this? And then something will take our attention away from that. And so then, like, 2 hours later, we'll be like, wait, what was I going to have for dinner? Do I really want that for dinner? And then we'll go have lunch. We'll have the same thought again. And even if you just did that for 30 minutes a day, and the statistic is actually that many of us do it for an hour a day,
Mm-hmm.
but even if you did that for 30 minutes a day and you multiplied that by all the days, it's something like 5 to 6 weeks of vacation, like 5 to 6 40-hour weeks.
That's crazy.
So it's just, like, crazy how much we think about all these things. I'm sure the same is true about exercise.
Yep.
I mean, for me, it's definitely true about exercise. It's like, should I go on a run now or should I go later? And it's like, and you're not doing something else because you're thinking about it. And so I find that just, like, getting it all out and really, like, committing to that plan, but then also learning from it and learning where your time sucks are. And, like, because the flow planner sort of is a space for you to plan, but also has space for you to reflect back.
Right.
And so you're actually, like, practicing how to build all these habits, which I think a lot of us just look at our calendar as this thing, like this to-do list or this, thing we have to follow. And then what happens to a lot of us, or at least it used to happen to me a lot, is that I would ignore it. Like, I wouldn't do everything. And then I just feel like totally less than and retarded at the end of the day, that I couldn't do what I said I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or I didn't go to that yoga class because I was writing that email or whatever it is,
Yep.
And so this gives you space to reflect back on, like, why did that happen? And, like, what do I really want? And it's funny, but as you practice this, after a while, you just start to pay attention to what it is that you want. And you start to actually make the time for those things that matter most to you, which can escape many of us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, no, and I've fallen in love with the full planner, and
Oh.
I think that, well, and I'm really excited because this is something that I teach, but, I have my little template that I use for my fitness challenge groups. And while, like, the template's really good for, getting them through either, the 10 weeks or so that we work together, because it has their specific workouts and has links to all that, once they graduate, I love that this is a tool they can use to really,
Mm.
connect all those things. It's planning, planning ahead is so important for
Yeah.
success.
Well, and the other thing about it is it's in 90 days,
Mm,
which in my adult life, and I kind of blame it, I kind of say it has to do with motherhood or entrepreneurship, both of which I fall into, but I actually think it just might be like our current attention span and
sure.
just where we are, that 90 days is just really makes sense
Hmm.
because a lot changes. Like
Right.
you could, you know, you can try something for 90 days and then know whether you really like it. Like I've broken a wrist once and had to get surgery, and then that 90 days looked different than the 90 days before and then the 90 days after. It's like
Right.
it's really helpful, I think, to be able to chunk it and you feel more successful about what you're getting done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing I love too, I mean, you mentioned that flow stands for food, lifestyle, home, and work. So,
Mm-hmm.
that we're not just looking at these things in isolation and really having it connected to a bigger purpose, which I mean, that's something I teach my clients too. The first thing
Yeah.
to start with is their why. Like, why are they even trying to make a change or trying to do anything in their lives is going to help with their motivation. So,
Right. Well, and when I first got this idea, it was because I was working with a couple of clients who had these like really big desires for making these changes. Like they wanted to do these hour-long exercise classes every
mhm.
day. Like, and I was like, cool, that sounds great. And then somebody else was like really committed to like both parents being home for dinner. And I was like, that's awesome. And then they both sort of fell flat. And when we went back and looked, it was like, there wasn't even 5 minutes for dinner, like to make it, much less eat it. And like,
Right.
there wasn't time open in a day when there was an exercise class. And so it's like, if you don't really look at, like you can say you want to do all these things, but if you don't really look at it as how it fits into your life, it's hard. Like I know you talk a lot about the 15-minute walk. So
Yep.
it's like,
Yep.
where can you fit that in?
Right. Right. No, for sure. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show,
Oh,
Mia,
thank
and
you.
sharing kind of like your story and just some quick insights into the Flow Planner. And I think everyone should check it out. I want you to share with us when we'll be able to do that, and then the exciting thing that we're going to do for the listeners.
All right. So you can go to theflowplanner.com and read all about it. And there is a to be put on a wait list. Like there's a link to be put on a wait list because we sold out of the first batch, but more are on a boat on their way. So they should be here like literally any day. So
Awesome.
maybe even by the time this goes live, they'll be here. But
Yeah.
they're not here yet. And you can also, my other website is Plan Simple Meals. So there's also updates there for any reason you have any issues with the Flow Planner. And so I think we're going to give one away, right? We get to give one away to,
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are for how we get it, but I'm going to send one to somebody.
I love that though. No, we'll make some rules and they can find
Okay.
everything on the show notes page.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't know how we pick the winner, but there will be a winner and I'm happy to send. I'm excited to send. I think that we have 5 left. So one of them gets to go to one of your listeners.
Very special listeners. Well, Mia, like I said, thank you so much for sharing this with us and getting us excited about making things, making it manageable, right? I think that's what it's all about. So,
and it's such a good time right now because I think summer is one of those times that we can really activate or lose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's
I feel like there's a lot of on the other side of summer, we want to say that like we did all these things. And then so often, we can be like, wait, what did we do?
Yep.
So as we're approaching it, I think it's a really good time to intentionally spend the time, not to do more stuff, but to, really hit your fitness and food and whatever goals that you have.
Yeah. And then it is like, it's some, 30 days or so that might be a little different than our normal year, whether we have kids or not. I do think that summer is just different for everyone,
Yeah.
So,
well, it's a different pace.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mia. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah. We'll catch up more soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hey friends, it's Catherine. So you definitely do want to go over to the show notes today to check out Mia's Flow Planner giveaway entry form that I have set up there, and we will run that for a week. So we'll do our winner a week from today, which is Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. And then the other thing to check out is that Fit Armadillo is turning 5 officially tomorrow, but we're starting the party early with some $5 fitness classes. You can join over live video chat. So check that out too via the show notes page and or just going to fitarmadillo.com. It should pop right up. We'd love to see you in class this week. And if you're too busy, still head over there because you can share better times for you and we might want to keep the party going. So if we have enough interest, we will definitely do that. Thanks so much for listening today. And if you subscribe, I will chat with you again tomorrow. Bye.